So far we've seen launches of Taylormade stealth drivers, Callaway Rogue ST, Cobra LTDX, to name just a few. But over half of you watching this video will not buy those drivers this year. Let me explain what I mean. So I asked this question on my Twitter. I said, if you were to buy a new driver this year, would you buy brand new or would you be looking to buy second hand? 53% of you said second hand. And that does not surprise me one bit. So it got me thinking, what about if I took a walk down memory lane and had a look at some second-hand drivers? So I've hooked up with my really good friends, Golf Bidder. If you've never seen Golf Bidder before, a fantastic company where they'll buy your old clubs off you, and also you can buy second-hand golf clubs off the website as well. It's reliable, it's professional, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking into buying second-hand golf clubs. Now, I've decided in this video to pick some drivers from a year that I think was fantastic for drivers, the year 2017. Now, I've picked 2017 for a number of reasons. One, it was a really strong year for drivers. Like, a lot of drivers that I tested that year were very, very promising. However, there's three in this video that I've picked out that I thought were really, really good. The second reason is a lot of the technology implemented in 2017 we're still seeing in drivers that are coming out in this year, 2022. And my final point is the price. Like, these drivers that are 5 years old have dramatically come down in price. So you're getting a great saving, yet they don't feel really, really, really old. And also, it wouldn't surprise me for 1 second if some of the golfers in your club and even some of the better players still have these drivers in the bag today. They're that good. Now, I'm not going to do this in any particular order, but what I've done, I've tested these three drivers out on the golf course, at the driving range, and I'll give you a rundown of what I really like, what technology we still see in some of these drivers, and also maybe what's changed, what are we missing. The first one I needed to get my hands on was this, because I had this driver in the bag. This is the Callaway Great Big Bertha Epic. Now, this was a phenomenal driver. The first time we saw jailbreaking a driver, these two bars that sit behind the face that connect the bottom of the head and the top of the crown for more stability, the first time we really saw Callaway start to experiment with more carbon on the bottom and a little bit on the crown as well. Now, this one is the standard Epic, which had the movable weight at the back as well, so you can put it more fade or draw biased if you wish, and obviously it had the adjustable neck sleeve. Now, this driver for me, and as I mentioned, I had this one in the bag, not only sounded great, not only looked great, but also really performed. So, once I was hitting it at the driving range, I couldn't wait to kind of get those sensations back again. And this driver did not disappoint me. Still to this day, I would put this in my probably top 3 best sounding drivers ever. It's just got that really satisfying crack off the face. I feel like, again, the performance was very strong. There's a couple of things you might just want to be aware of, certainly with the Epic. It definitely suits a slightly faster swing speed, because sometimes you don't quite strike it. You can get ones that spin a little bit too low. And I think that's the promise with a driver like the Epic. If you're absolutely crushing it out the middle and swinging it fast, you can definitely get this driver to work. The slight downside, it definitely wasn't forgiving. And even now comparing it to more modern drivers, that's the only angle you might just fall down with on this. And that's what I found when I was testing this driver. On the really good ones, you cannot fault it. On some of the bad ones, it's not the most forgiving. But with all that being said, considering I've been hitting all the brand new drivers this year, recently, this still stacks up in performance. Very good driver. And again, one if you're looking for second hand, one to consider. Now, the next driver I could not miss out on this shortlist from 2017 is this, the Taylormade M1. Now, if you remember, this is the second iteration of the M1, because 2016 was when they first released M1 and M2, very, very popular drivers. But then in 2017, they brought out the next version, which arguably was a little bit better in a few very important elements. Now, the M1, big factor was this kind of multi-material head construction. You've got the big carbon mask crown with this really, really nice white border, which still, believe it or not, 5 years later, still looks modern. Well, I would be more than happy to play with a driver that looks like this now. And again, when I was hitting them at the driving range and out on the golf course, this is a beautiful looking driver behind the ball. It really, really is. Now, obviously what you'll see these days with the new Stealth, etc., and even the last few versions of Taylormade, between this and those models, they've introduced things like twist face, speed injection twist face, carbon faces, all things that might improve performance slightly. But to be honest with you, I find that really hard to measure, certainly against this driver. Now on this particular M1 model, you've got the adjustability options, and that's why I've chosen this one over the M2. Certainly when you're buying second hand, it's worth looking at an adjustable driver just so that you can fine tune it if you need to. So obviously getting fitted for one of these is much more challenging if you're buying them second hand, but looking at this on performance, for me, this is still one of the most forgiving drivers I've hit, and believe me, it is still very, very long. And then the final driver I had to put on the shortlist was this, the Ping G400. What a driver this was. Now, unlike the other two brands I've mentioned before, Taylormade and Callaway, Ping don't particularly go with really outlandish, bold, crazy claims. But it's still packed full of technology. It has turbulators on the crown to help with airflow, to help you swing it faster. In the G400 lineup, it had this dragonfly technology on the back of the head where they strip weight to kind of move it lower and further back. And also we saw the introduction of this vortex on the back of the head as well. Again, a way of the aerodynamics working better around the head. We still see signs of some of this technology even now in the G425 driver lineup. But what you get with Ping is forgiveness. And again, testing it on the driving range and out on the golf course, we saw just that. I was at JCB on the first hole hitting this, which is a bloody hard hole, believe me. And time again, the ball, as I hit it, I was looking up and they were just flying down the fairway. It's not the longest, but where you might not get a huge amount of distance, you definitely get forgiveness. I get asked a lot about what's the most forgiving driver, what's going to give me the best benefit, the best help. Well, I would definitely look for a Ping driver of any description, but you won't go far wrong with this G400. So you might be thinking, well, what's the point in this video? I want to go and buy a brand new driver. I want to feel great knowing I've got the latest technology. Or for not 1 second am I saying don't do that. Like, there is almost no better feeling in the world buying a brand new driver that you know is the latest and greatest, taking the wrapper off, taking it to that golf course for the very first time. If that's what you want to do, carry on. However, what I'm trying to get to here, and the point is, that if you're looking at picking something up second hand, there are some fantastic drivers on offer at a much lower price. And believe me, they're still incredibly good drivers. And if you are looking at buying second hand, well, my good friends at Golf Bidder have got you covered. And lastly, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you're going to be getting a new driver this year, are you going to go and buy brand new? And if so, what you're looking at getting? Or are you going to be looking down the second hand route option? And also, I'd love to know what driver you've got your eye on. Guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, lots more to come. We'll see you soon.